Browns-Bengals on Sunday. We'll make our picks a little bit later in this video, but first we've got to talk about Myles Garrett, who spoke today. And of course, this was our last chance. He'll speak after the game, but our last real chance to get some opinions from Myles Garrett on where this thing might be going after Sunday's game in Cincinnati. He usually does not talk on locker cleanout day, the day after the season. And Mary Kay, I think the thing that probably stood out was, given the opportunity to defend Kevin Stefanski or lobby for Kevin Stefanski, he chose not to.
Yeah, he really did not do that. And we have given him numerous opportunities to give Kevin Stefanski a vote of confidence, to say that he wants him back, and he did not do that. He did say that if the Browns ask his opinion, he will give them the opinion. But he almost talked about like that might happen in the exit interviews. That could be too late because we all know how this goes. When teams decide to make changes, sometimes it happens as soon as the night of the game. The Browns have done that in the past. So that could happen. I know there are ongoing discussions about how this is all going to play out, but Myles declined to give him a vote of confidence, saying that there have been more downs than ups with Kevin Stefanski, and really kind of emphasizing that this was a year in which they had this amazing defense, and he's dismayed that they were unable to do more with it. So I think he's kind of blaming Kevin for that a little bit. And then the corollary to that is that he did give Jim Schwartz that vote of confidence and said that he absolutely loves playing with him and would like to see him continue.
Yeah, and Ashley, I know Myles, look, we're to a point where if they haven't made a decision yet, I'd be surprised. To Mary Kay's point, we might find out Sunday night. There's also a chance there could be leaks even Sunday morning before the game. We've seen that happen with the Browns and other situations and with other teams as well. So I would imagine if Myles has voiced his opinion, it's already happened. And if it was similar to what we heard, it wasn't favorable for Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. He's had opportunities going back to Sunday after the win over the Steelers when Mary Kay tried to ask him about it to provide that support for Kevin, and he just has refused no matter what way we've asked. No matter today, he got asked, would you like to see continuity? He says he would like to see success. I followed up and asked, do you think you can have success if there is continuity? And he basically said, I can't predict the future. On the flip side of that, today, like Mary Kay said, really effusive praise of Jim Schwartz. And even a couple weeks ago when I asked him about Jim Schwartz, he said it's been an honor and a privilege to play for him. So he is capable of talking about his coaches and offering that kind of support like that. We have seen him do it before, and it's just not there. And it is striking to walk away from today having heard Myles say that.
Yeah, so let's follow up a little bit more on that Jim Schwartz angle of it, because we've talked about this a little bit. Could Jim Schwartz be the option? He seems to be the path of least resistance if the Browns really don't want to shake things up on either side of the football too drastically. And, Mary Kay, for Myles to come out and say that, now this is one thing where as this coaching search gets underway, there probably still is some indecision within this organization as to who they're going to interview, who might get opportunities, how many guys outside the organization will they interview. So I think that's significant too, that Myles did take that opportunity to essentially say, hey guys, what about Jim Schwartz?
Oh, 100%. I feel like he was kind of campaigning for Jim Schwartz today. If he doesn't necessarily want him to be the head coach, he by all means wants him back as the defensive coordinator. And when you think about it, why would you want to break up one of the most dominant defenses that we have seen in the history of the Cleveland Browns? They've got an amazing staff. They've got young up-and-coming guys. You've got Carson Schwarzenegger, Mason Graham. This is a really, really good defense. And, I do think that they are going to want continuity in that regard. And in order to do that, do you have to make him your head coach? Or do you find some kind of an offensive coach who will absolutely 100% want to keep Jim Schwartz? And remember that Andrew Berry loves Jim Schwartz. They worked together in Philadelphia. He really likes him a lot. So that's something to keep in mind here. And, we've talked about Tommy. I don't know if they think Tommy is ready to be a head coach. The other way to go about this is, again, you keep Kevin as your CEO coach, and then you keep your two coordinators in place. So I think there are still a lot of discussions going on, but more and more, it almost seems like it's trending towards a change at head coach.
Yeah, and Ashley, I do think it's worth noting this. Jim Schwartz's defense is a little bit unique in today's game. He doesn't play a lot of that typical too high that we see that takes, is based on taking away big plays. They play a lot of single high safety. They do different things than I think the rest of the league is doing. And the Browns have spent years now kind of building this defense in Jim Schwartz's image. So again, I'm sure Myles sees that, and I'm sure they're sitting up there in their offices saying, do we want to completely change the way we play defense considering how much success they've had and how they built this thing?
Yeah, and here's the other thing to keep in mind with this coaching hiring cycle. We brought it up time and time again, and I think it's important again here. Most of the top candidates this coaching hiring cycle are going to be defensive guys and guys whose names have been thrown out like Jesse Minter, Brian Flores. Those guys do not play a Jim Schwartz style defense. Those are 3-4 defenses. That's totally different from Myles Garrett. It's not something that, I think personally that he would be as effective in as he is in this Jim Schwartz scheme. So that's going to be something else for them to consider when they've now especially spent multiple off seasons remaking their D-tackle room even and devoting a lot of draft resources there. Do you really want to give up on that? I don't know that the answer would be yes.
Now, one other thing that Myles did kind of make clear today is he wants to win. We know that. But he basically said, if it's a rebuild, it's not me. So Mary Kay, that sort of raises this idea of, are we going to be right back here? Is it going to be Super Bowl week and Myles Garrett is going to be doing a media tour again? And, maybe it's not as big a proclamation as it was last year since there is no contract extension to be had. But could we reach a point again where Myles Garrett decides that he doesn't want to be here?
Well, he let the cat out of the bag today in saying, again, that if this is a tank or a rebuild, that's not me. And I think what he's trying to say is, he wants to get to winning by next year. He's had it. These guys don't want to lose anymore. They won 3 games last year. They've won 4 games this year, and nobody has the stomach for more losing next year. The truth of the matter is the Browns are in a rebuild. You can say whatever you want, but they are in the midst of a rebuild, right? All you have to do is look at all the rookies that we're not stupid. All the rookies that played and started games this year to see that they are in the midst of a rebuild. But I still think that they can get to winning next year if they have a quarterback who can win. When you have a defense like this, you're going to have a chance to win a lot of football games if you can score some points. And I think it's going to be a big decision for the Browns, to decide, are they going to try to trot Shedeur out there and think that they can win in the early going of the season? Maybe they can. Maybe if they give him enough of a supporting cast and they let him take every first-team rep throughout the offseason, maybe they can get to winning early on. But that is one of the things that I'm sure that Myles Garrett is going to be talking to them about in that exit meeting.
Yeah, and just look at all the draft assets, where those are. Look at the trade they made in last year's draft to get that extra first-round pick. And, of course, all the picks they have coming up. One of the other things here is they're going to have a lot more rookies out there playing next season. So some second-year guys who you hope will take steps forward, but there's going to be a lot more key rookies out there playing for this team. I guess the good news, Ashley, is they've sort of done the tanking part already by accident with back-to-back a 3-win season and now a 4, maybe a 5-win season this year at best. So I guess they've gotten that out of their system. But, if Myles Garrett is thinking Super Bowl next year, maybe this team can get close to a playoff spot. I don't know if he's going to get his wish, which, again, just sort of opens up that idea of, would he reconsider that trade request?
Yeah, look, there's always a possibility, right? Look at the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. They win 4 games this year. They're right in the mix. They can still clinch the AFC South. They're the leaders there right now. So it is possible to go from a 3 or 4 win season to suddenly a playoff team. But, I like the way Mary Kay's characterized this about Super Bowl window 1 and Super Bowl window 2. And you have those veteran guys like Myles Garrett, like Denzel Ward, who are obviously still around. And then you have this great rookie class that you did get in large part because you won 3 games in 2024. So to your point, this was a tank without calling it a tank, a soft rebuild, whatever you want to call it. They maybe weren't actively trying to tank, but they did reap already the benefits of having more draft picks in 2025, and we're going to get even more in 2026.
Okay, you guys want to make picks for Sunday? Let's go ahead and make.
Game?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah,
believe it or not, we're going to be in Cincinnati on Sunday. So what the heck? Let's make some picks. Ashley, give us a storyline if there is another storyline, and give us a pick.
I mean, I guess the one storyline here is Myles Garrett going to finally get this sack record? I think that is obviously the one thing in terms of the actual game that Browns fans will be watching for. He still needs one to break that sack record. Obviously, sacked Joe Burrow 11 times in his career, so he has that going for him. And look, I think it's going to be difficult for the Browns without Harold Fannin Jr., without Carson Schlesinger, both of who were ruled out today. Those are two key rookies on both sides of the ball. But look, for some reason, I just can never pick the Bengals against the Browns. I just have a feeling. I don't know that it makes sense. But if Myles Garrett gets the sack record, he's been adamant about wanting it to come in a win as well. So I'm going to pick the Browns. And by the way, they should have won the first game of the year, which I think everyone knows by now, especially Browns fans. So I'm going to go Browns 21-16.
I'm just going to be watching. Is this just one big last ride for everybody? Because obviously we just spent time talking about Kevin Stefanski. There are people in Cincinnati who are not happy with Zach Taylor. So could we see two AFC North head coaches playing against each other in their final games? I'm actually going to go the other direction in this one. I think, look, the Browns played really well and really hard against Pittsburgh, but I think the Bengals are still playing hard as well. So I think Cincinnati's going to win this game 27-19, in part because the Browns are going to be missing some of those key pieces. Mary Kay, what's your pick?
Well, I do agree that it's going to be increasingly difficult to win this game without Harold Fannin, without Carson Schlesinger. You're talking about one of your best defensive players and your best offensive weapon, certainly Shedeur Sanders' go-to guy. And we saw that Shedeur really struggled in that Pittsburgh game when Harold Fannin left the game. So I think it is going to be difficult, but there is still something about Myles Garrett going down there and setting the record, which I think he's going to do, and wanting to do that in a victory. So I think the rest of that defense is really going to rally around him. I think he's going to play with his hair on fire. I think he's going to finish very, very strong in this football game. And I think because the Bengals defense is not that good, I still think that Shedeur will be able to hit some of those explosives and enough of them to score some points. So I'm still going with the Browns in this game. Now, they will hurt themselves in draft order if they win this game, but Shedeur is going to be determined to help hurt them in draft order so that they can't go out and draft his replacement. So I am going with the Browns in this game, 23-20.
Okay, there we go. Our picks for Sunday. Last time we're going to be doing that for a little while. You can see all our coverage of everything Myles Garrett had to say, everything that happens on Sunday, and most importantly, everything that happens after Sunday's game. You can find it all at cleveland.com/Browns.